It's episode 1270, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang. Joining me from Loverland, Virginia is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Both Derek and Marty are traveling today because they are very busy artists. It's Dove Awards week, so they had a showcase. They had all these things, label stuff, so they couldn't make it today. They decided to directly rebel against Forrest Frank's mandate to boycott the Dove Awards this week. And they're standing strong for what they believe in, which is
keeping it
entertainment.
The anti-boycott.
Yeah.
They're boycotting the boycott. I like it.
Hey, no shit to Forrest. We love Forrest. I'm just saying, it's been a whole thing in the little Christian bubble this week.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll got involved. I don't know if y'all saw that.
It's escalating quickly.
What in the world?
Yeah.
If Jelly Roll's having to be the peacekeeper, things are weird in the Christian bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Live and let live. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
I agree. All right.
If
if you want little awards for Loving Jesus, get your Loving Jesus awards. That's fine. If you don't want Loving Jesus awards, that's fine too. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. We all love the Lord. Calm down.
Yeah. Some people are right.
It's very low stakes.
And some people there don't love the Lord. They're just in it for the money, which we also learned this week. There's a lot of money involved in the Christian music industry.
Yeah, it's a whole tangled web. We don't, I feel like it's people.
Let's call Chandler Moore and see what he thinks about the Dove Awards real quick. Hold on. Get him on the line.
Just speaking of like a lot of money involved in media operations, can I just say this is a random tangent here, but like the trend on YouTube of like people who are very successful, blowing fruits of their success for the enjoyment of their viewers is one of my favorite things. And I know a lot of people will probably have thoughts on it.
Wait, are you talking about the Mr. Beast stunts where he spends $10 million on a video? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no. But I'm particularly talking about, do you guys know the channel Whistling Diesel? It's a car one. And he buys
that feels like something in your algorithm, not mine.
He buys very expensive cars and destroys them in very creative ways, and some of it's like durability tests to see what a car can withstand, but it'll be like a G-Wagon or something, how is he destroying them? Like just like crashing them or what? He dropped one through his house. I'm telling you, just like, it's great content. Okay. If you want to see a G-Wagon drop through a house, you can see it on his channel, but he just, he bought one of those like $80,000 robots from China. I think like Speed and a couple of the streamers have them, They're
trying to kick him over. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he bought one and he trained it to hate humans and just to see what would happen. Give it machetes and swords and stuff. It broke into his house. And like, I'm telling you, he dressed it up as a maid and was like very mean to it, trying to get it to cook things, This
is the car channel you're talking about. Car channel.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Well, but it's just, he now has, just like a lot of these YouTubers, more money than he knows what to do. So wouldn't it be funny to train a robot to hate humans and see who would win in like a battle between humans and robots? And it's at times legitimately scary, at times hilarious, and I just love it. I just love that someone's willing, that they take their YouTube earnings from all of us, goofballs who watch funny videos, and all those little fractions of a penny that rack up every minute we're on there. And they're willing to reinvest it into ridiculous things like training an $80,000 Chinese robot to attack his home with a machete to see if he would survive. I just love the era of media we're in. That's a good use of media money.
Agreed.
Not hoarding it. You're giving
I don't know
it right
if I would
back.
say it was a good use of money.
Well, I do like that you just given us a new tagline for this episode of the podcast. At times, legitimately scary. At times, hilarious. So there you go. Speaking of which, we have a great show coming up. It is an unusual show. Now that we're in video, we're playing with the format a little bit. We announced a couple weeks ago we're not going to have any guests anymore. Well, we've already gone back on that on today's show. But it's not like we used to do. We're having a guest join us live on the show today in about 19 minutes. It's Pastor Chris Durso. Some of you may know him. He pastors in New York. He does a lot of speaking at conferences and stuff around the country. Kind of one of those guys that's escalating in his renown right now. I don't know. He's a friend of the show, been a friend for several years, and he's going to be joining us. He just launched a new church in New York. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but he has some thoughts about the Big C Church and what's going on he wants to get off his chest. So I said, well, join us on the show. So that's what we're doing.
He just spoke at my church's conference last month. So very excited to see him again.
Can I get his thoughts on training a robot and sword fighting him for content purposes? Because
he did that for a big sermon illustration on Sunday.
Good,
he's one of the he's of the Mike Todd school of theatrics. He's not.
I was going to say $80,000 for a sermon illustration is nothing in that world.
Nothing to those guys. Yeah, they build out very elaborate sets. Anyway, so that's coming up. Also, we heard from you. You guys like the slices, you like the whatever, but you're going. I just spent 45 minutes of my week listening to absolutely nothing. So where's relevant buzz? Could we get a little of that action sprinkled back in? And so guess what? We hear you. We're nothing if not teachable. We're here to serve you. So today we have a little relevant buzz, a little slices, and a lot of Chris Durso. So there you go. Stay tuned. Right after the break, it'll be relevant buzz.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Mercy Ships. Globally, 5 billion people lack access to surgical care. In sub-Saharan Africa, there's only one surgeon for every 200,000 people. Mercy Ships provides free, life-transforming surgeries for people who have little to no access to medical care. They help the blind see, straighten twisted limbs, remove deadly tumors, treat cleft conditions, and so much more. With state-of-the-art hospital ships, they provide safe surgery to children and adults living with treatable conditions, and it's completely free of charge. They do all this work with an all-volunteer crew of professionals who donate their time and talents. Surgeons, stewards, nurses, engineers, and more make the world a better place. Your donation today provides free, safe surgeries to people in desperate need of help. All gifts are matched, so please donate today at mercyships.org/relevant.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Tim Tebow's book, Look Again. Have you ever wondered what would change if you truly believed you were infinitely valuable to God? In his New York Times bestselling book, Look Again, Tim Tebow reveals the powerful truth that when we learn to see the image of God in every person, including those we struggle to love, everything changes. Tebow shares incredible stories from his work with people the world often overlooks, and it will challenge you to stand up to the lies, rediscover the worth that everyone has, and impact the world for good. Find Look Again by Tim Tebow, available now wherever books are sold.
Relevant Buzz.
Okay, Emily, tell us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week.
Well, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but there is some big news happening in the Christian music world this month. So last Monday,
Jesus-loving Moore, people got awards given to themselves, right?
Yes, this is actually a Dove Awards recap.
Got it, yeah. Highlight reel, red carpet. Let's see who's wearing who. Yeah.
Isn't it like a teal carpet? It might be a red carpet. I really don't know.
And we're going to revisit those royalties that churches are paying out,
83-year-olds on TBN are very interested in who Chandler Moore is wearing on the teal carpet at the Dove Awards. Anyway, go ahead, Emily. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, speaking of Chandler Moore, he and Naomi Raine, who are two of the founding members of Maverick City Music, announced that they were leaving the group last Monday. They both started with the group in 2018 when it was founded. So fans were pretty shocked when they announced within an hour of each other on social media that they would be leaving the group. They both released statements. Naomi's statement was, very grateful for her time in the group, but mentioned that she was ready to step into a new chapter of her career. Like, she's done some solo music, so I think she's going to have a really fun future. We're excited to see what she does. Chandler's statement was similar, also talked about a new chapter he was stepping in, but he also wrote in his statement that there may be some press and conversation around certain business matters that his legal team was handling. Obviously, that caught our attention because we had no clue what that could mean. Did not take long to figure out that answer. Earlier this month, on October 1st, Chandler filed a lawsuit against his former manager, Norman Giampi, accusing him of fraud, forgery, and misappropriating millions in royalties. Now, Norman's name might not sound familiar to a lot of people, but if you'll remember earlier this year, there was some controversy around the CEO of Maverick City Music for going on the Isaac Cree show, making quite a few negative comments about the state of gospel music and the Christian music industry. That was Norman. So he's already had a tough year.
So you said he's suing his manager. His manager, Norman, then became the CEO of Maverick City Music. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Norman became the CEO in 2023 after working as Chandler's manager from 2020 to 2023. So in this lawsuit, Chandler alleges that Norman exploited his fiduciary relationship with him and used alter ego entities to enrich himself at Chandler's expense. The suit claims Norman forged Chandler's signature on contracts, diverted funds, and transferred ownership of more songs without consent. And Chandler claims the alleged misconduct deprived him of millions of dollars in royalties and other monies.
You know, as Emily stated, there's a lot of legal nuances to this, and I think it's important to kind of cover some of the details, even though, some of the legal nuances are mundane. There was something in there. I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I wish they would dig in on the, what was the phrase? No, it was alter ego personalities.
Yeah.
Oh, alter ego entities. Yeah.
Entities. It's because basically he Norman, the person, the accusation, we are not libeling, Norman, the person, the accusation that Chandler's making is he set up other entities that were owned or controlled by Norman. And so he was transferring money and things to those entities.
I thought he had created characters in this elaborate ruse.
Like he's wearing a mustache in one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, this is a British. Yeah.
No. He's just saying, because like the paper trail won't say as his manager, he sold Chandler's XYZ to himself. No, he made himself an owner or partial owner of this other entity and then sold Chandler's stakes to that entity.
It would have been more, more legally salacious as he sold to like JB Buttersworth. Yeah. And it's like, well, who is this?
It's him.
I misread the legal document.
Emily, let me ask you. So you just told us all the info. We were very careful to be legal and nobody can sue us over what you just said. Thank you for that. Did Maverick City Music respond to it? I know the answer to this, but
yes, one of the co-founders, Jonathan J. He responded to it.
Who's been on this podcast, by the way.
Has been on this podcast
with House Fires.
Yes, yeah, because he started Maverick City. He was with House Fires. He's over Tribal Records, so he works with Norman obviously a lot. He released a statement saying that Chandler's claims are categorically false and characterized the lawsuit as a, quote, calculated attempt to strong arm a way out of agreements Chandler made freely and later breached, end quote. So that's the official stance.
I'll say this. Chandler was very specific in his claims of what happened, and the response from the label was very, nuh-uh. So, at the end of the day, the courts will decide who's telling the truth, and until then, it's a bunch of TBD. But that was an interesting precursor. That lawsuit was filed on a Wednesday, and on Monday, he announced he and Naomi were leaving the groups. Who knows if this is the end of Maverick City Music, but all original members are now officially gone. If they continue, it's going to be like one of those funk bands that has no original members, but still uses the name. It's going to be Karaoke Maverick. So we
were talking about this. It's like the ship of Thesis, where it's like, at what point is this just a new group? This isn't Maverick
City like a brand at that point.
If they were smart, this would just be the end of Maverick City Music, and Tribal will continue on with new bands like One Voice Worship and House Fires.
Jonathan J's statement makes it seem like they are continuing the brand Maverick, like they see Maverick as a city, and it's like I don't think other people see it like that. I think people see it as Chandler and Naomi, and at one point Brandon Lake and Dante. But like
we posted this statement on Instagram, and thousands of you joined a conversation to share your thoughts. And one person said, "Listen, we knew the end was nigh because I bought tickets to see them on tour in 2023." And it was a whole bunch of fill-in people and Naomi. And he said, I bought tickets to see Maverick City, and I ended up seeing Timu City. And I was like, that nailed exactly how a lot of us felt.
It was more like Maverick Township, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, who knows? If they'll continue on Timu City, you can see them in a city near you. I don't know. We'll see what's going on with that. But it's kind of crazy. All this happened literally the day before the celebration of the Dove Awards happened in the Christian music industry. So it gave the industry a little something to talk about this week.
Yeah, just a little something. One other thing before we move on to slices. Project Pat, the legendary rapper from Memphis, whose brother Juicy J started 3-6 Mafia, recently led thousands of people in prayer of repentance in downtown Memphis.
Of what?
The video
Apprentice? Prayer of Apprentice?
Prayer of Repentance in downtown Memphis. I just realized that kind of rhymed. I did not plan it. Yeah. Maybe I have a career as a rapper. That's what I'm hearing. Anyways, we are going to play the clip, but I just wanted to set a little bit of context about Memphis, where he said this prayer. It is consistently named the most dangerous city in America. Like it tops national rankings for violent crime. So to see this and hear this really powerful prayer in a city like this is really spectacular, and that's why we want to highlight it.
Project Pat has been in the 3-6 Mafia world and is not shape or form for being a believer, even though we know now he grew up in the church, played drums in the church. Even when he was doing stuff with 3-6 Mafia, he was still going on Sundays and stuff. And so now it's like he's gotten really serious about his faith. We've seen Project Pack show up on Jackie Hill Perry's new album, and he did a little stuff with No Big Deal a few months ago. So it seems like he's really coming back into, emphasizing his faith. So here's a clip.
Forgive me of my sins. I believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and went to hell in my place. And I receive him as my Lord and Savior. Now, Lord, give me the grace, the strength to want to do and obey your perfect will. And open my understanding to who you truly are and where you want me to be in this life. And Father, grace my interest to be interested in your things, to put your kingdom first in my life. In Jesus' name. Amen. Now, if you prayed that prayer, raise your hand. Praise God. When I say 9-0, you say 1. 9-0. 1. 9-0. 1.
Okay, well, we had more planned, but the clock is ticking and Chris Durso is coming up, so we want to get going. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com for more of those stories, and our Instagram and all the other socials. We're posting stuff, and I don't know what's been going on with you guys, but thank you for engaging. And I think last month on Instagram, we reached 33.2 million people in the last 30 days. It's like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but thanks for engaging the content. We're telling a lot of those stories and more.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
We are one more month at this rate away from buying an $80,000 robot and destroying it for fun on a live stream. Okay?
One more month. Get that $800 check from Instagram. Thank you. All right. Stay tuned. Right after this break, it'll be a version of Slices. Today's podcast is brought to you in part by John Mark Comer's book, Garden City, a book that speaks to the tension we all feel between work, rest, and purpose. The New York Times bestselling author John Mark Comer takes us to the scriptures to identify what it really means to be human and flips the script on the idea that who you are matters, not what you do. He shows that God created us for meaningful work and meaningful rest. Both matter. This book helps you ask and answer the big questions. Does God care where I work? Is there a direction for my life? So you can discern God's heart for your calling, your rhythms, and the way His Spirit wants to shape every part of your life. If you're longing for purpose and a more grounded way to live, check out the new hardcover edition of Garden City wherever books are sold.
Well, today's show is brought to you in part by the new book, God, the Science, the Evidence. We talk a lot about faith, but how often do we talk about science in the same breath? You might be surprised to discover just how deeply the two actually agree. For centuries, science has been used to dismiss the idea of God, but today an intellectual revolution is underway. Modern discoveries in physics, cosmology, and biology are consistently revealing the same truth: creation isn't an accident. That profound reversal is what engineers Michel-Yves Bolloré and Olivier Bonassi investigate in their international bestseller, God, the Science, the Evidence. This book is a rigorous, evidence-based critique of materialism, inviting you to explore over a dozen scientific, philosophical, and historical domains. It shows that what was once seemed impossible, that science could point to a creator, is now supported by a vast and convergent body of evidence. With over 400,000 copies sold in Europe, this book is sparking a global debate. It's thoughtful, fascinating, and a powerful reminder that reason itself affirms the existence of God. Learn more and find out where you can purchase your copy today by visiting godthesciencetheevidence.com.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Erwin McManus's book, The Barbarian Way. Some books don't just inspire you, they confront you. The Barbarian Way, now celebrating its 20th anniversary, is one of those books. If you felt the pull of God towards something deeper and wilder than the safe, predictable version of faith that we settle for, McManus reminds us that following Jesus was never meant to be tame. It's meant to awaken courage, passion, and purpose God placed inside us. He draws from the wild stories of Abel, Noah, Moses, Rahab, and others to remind us that following God wasn't meant to be tame. Safe faith isn't working. Step into the story God is writing for you. Choose passion, choose boldness, choose the Barbarian Way. Available now wherever books are sold. Okay, Jesse, It's time for
Slices.
What do you have?
All right. There's been different points in my adult life where I've dabbled in, I say endurance. It's not like I'm doing like Ironman, but like doing like races, you know, like little runs for charity. They're fun. You know, you get out there, especially around like Halloween time. Fall is a very popular time for these because the temperature is just right. So you see a lot of costumes, you know. But anyway, I'm always interested when one of these race organized puts a little fun twist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now Taco Bell is getting involved in the game. It's called the Taco Bell Ultra Marathon.
Oh my gosh.
And it will raise money for an organization that helps disabled runners. So good cause.
It just sounds painful, dude. Please tell us what it is. But it just
it's 31 miles, which is very,
oh my
very
gosh. That's a lot of miles.
A regular marathon's like 26. Okay. So this is longer than the standard marathon.
Right.
But arguably this is even though it's only 5 miles longer than a regular marathon, it's exponentially more difficult because along the way, participants must eat at 9 Taco Bell restaurants. And there are numerous rules to make sure that you know the specifications are adhered to.
Mm-hmm.
You must eat a menu item at least 9 of the 10 Taco Bell stops. So, you know, that's important.
But you could order the little, do they still have the little cinnamon and brown sugar little bite dessert things?
It has some, well, I evidently
you get that and then just eat one of them and keep going, you know.
Well, but by the 4th stop, you must have consumed at least 1 chalupa or 1 Crunch Wrap Supreme.
Oh my,
by
they are serious.
By the 8th stop, you've also had to have at least 1 Burrito Supreme or Nacho Bel Grande. So like there are specifications. You have to keep receipts. Okay, drinks don't count as food.
Are they trying to kill participants?
Well, they have all these rules, you know, like maps and things like this.
Have they trickled down on the amount of porta potties along the route?
Well, here's the thing. I noticed one catastrophic oversight because of all these rules and stops. Like, here's the Taco Bell. Here's where you order by this spot. Right in the middle is at a park. It's like, this is the designated bathroom break.
Just one?
It seems to be only one.
And there's only like 4 bathrooms at a city park.
And they also there is no these are prohibited. Okay, this is real. This is prohibited by the rules. These are like performance enhancing drugs of this race. Pepto-Bismol, Alka-Seltzer, Pepsid AC, and Mylanta by name are not allowed. And so it does seem like the streets of Denver could be an incredibly dangerous and messy place when this is happening. So I appreciate.
Are you going to sign up? This is the question everybody wants to know. Are you going to sign up?
Well, it's unfortunately I can't be in Denver this Saturday, and so otherwise, and there's no way I could complete a 31-mile race. I don't even know if I could do the Taco Bell portion. To be quite honest with you, I regularly eat Taco Bell.
I have a little bit of experience with this, ever so slight, but I'm listening to you and I'm remembering. So in 2019, I did a race called Hood to Coast in Portland, and you run from Mount Hood all the way to the coast. Over the course of 24 hours, you have a team of 3 runners, and you have a van, and it's a whole thing. Yeah. And I remember, and I'm not a runner, but we trained for it, and it was a big to do, and we're raising money and stuff. And I remember that these are like real, like global athletes and marathoners and stuff, and me just showing up like a schlub, you know, just trying to keep up. And the real people, like when it wasn't your shift, you're like trying to recuperate in the van or whatever, or you drive ahead. And there was one point where we stopped for dinner. They wanted to go to a Mexican restaurant. Like the runners wanted to go to a Mexican restaurant, and they wanted the chips and the carbs and the whatever. Well, I'm thinking we're just hanging out at a Mexican restaurant, you know, getting real, like, you know, real Mexican food. I never felt worse after that meal. Like I do remember they were kind of looking at me like, I think you shouldn't be eating all the cheese, dude. You know, but like, I thought Mexican food was like the secret of like marathon running or something. I didn't know. Oh, huge mistake. So I'm listening to you talk about this Taco Bell thing, just thinking, just sweaty flashbacks of that thing were happening. So
well, I'm just thinking like the same person who would train for a marathon is not the same person eating at Taco Bell 9 times in one day. So
that's true.
I don't understand.
2 different people here. Yeah.
I don't understand who's signing up for this marathon other than Jesse.
Well, and I got to be honest with you. The type of person that's eating Taco Bell 9 times in one day is probably in prison right now because they're a psychopath. and do not belong in the public. And so
I agree.
I don't know anyone's digestion system that is prepared for this.
Maybe this is from like a YouTuber who, like a Mr. Beast type video, who's like doing like a crazy social experiment. Because I just cannot imagine the good people of Taco Bell thinking this is what's going to get people to eat at our restaurants.
One, no one's ever combined the good people of Taco Bell. Okay. They're just people there, and I don't know what their intentions are. I like their food, but good people is questionable.
You're right. You got me there.
Jesse, I thought of you last night. I was one of these 2:30 in the morning TikTok shop scrolling, came across a shop that had a lot of funny hats. And one said, it was like, this was all embroidered on it. And it said, people who get a tummy ache from eating Taco Bell are weak and their bloodlines are weak. And that's what the front of the hat said.
How big was that hat?
It was small. The type got smaller and smaller as it went. But I thought of you, Jesse. I almost bought it for you at 2:30.
I ate Taco Bell 2 days ago. Delicious. But
and then did you go run 7 miles?
I didn't. I didn't run, and I did not eat it 8 more times that day. So
when I was in cross country in high school, I will say we'd had long runs, and we would run from the high school to the local donut shop, grab some donuts, and then run back. But we wouldn't eat the donuts.
That makes a little more sense. It's like quick sugar fuel than it's like Michael Scott carbo loading at the beginning of the race with a fettuccine Alfredo. That's what this feels like. Anyway, I love that we spent just as much time on the end of Maverick City music as we have the Taco Bell marathons.
Equally as important.
There's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of nuances to both.
A lot of lawsuits. It was a lot of legal wrangling happening.
Both one a present legal situation, the other a pending. I mean, I could see this going all the way to Supreme Court. Some of the aftermath of this thing.
Emily, I know we are scheduled right now for Chris to pop on. He's going to pop on in a second. We're keeping an eye out for it. But I know that there's one more slice that we wanted to bring about ORU specifically.
Yes.
And I don't know if Jesse has seen this yet. Have you? We posted it yesterday.
No, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, this is one for ORU alums, or really just anyone maybe who needs some dating advice. I know I've lamented about that many times on this show. I won't go into that rant, but a group of freshmen at Oral Roberts University were videoed, or a video was uploaded of them marching around a girls' dorm 7 times to get the girls to fall for them. And the way I describe that, you are not prepared for what you're about to see on this video.
All right. So what are the results of this little experiment?
Well, they all got a $50 fine probably because, the wages. You saw security freaking out at the end. They were like trying to shut this down. I'm going, they're getting written up. I saw people running away from security. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they get you, it's $50.
Running from security is like an ORU intramural sport. I mean, it's just part of the student life there.
Yeah. We need a follow-up, Emily. We found this online and went kind of viral. We need to know, did it work? Did any of the girls in
right? Yeah, because I was going to say this could be dating advice, but if this continued to just actually backfire on them and they're now $50 in debt, maybe don't do this. But
shoot your shot.
It made me laugh so much because clearly there's a lot of girls in the dorm. So clearly this is like midnight. I mean, it's very dark. There's not a ton of people out. A crowd did gather of what the heck are these idiots doing as they were marching around the girls' dorm 7 times, chanting and skipping. But I was like, okay, this is clearly midnight shenanigans. It is one wing. Like people are like, oh, is this an annual tradition? Or no, this is one stupid wing of goofballs being hilarious at midnight. I love it. This is absolutely how it was when I was there. And
me as well.
No, I know it's been years and something's never changed. ORU is ORU.
So if y'all were in college at this time, would y'all have been joining in on the marching, or would you have been videoing? What would you have been doing?
It wouldn't have been my wing. My wing wouldn't have been the funny goofballs who did it.
Yeah.
I would have seen it happening and thought, good on you guys. That's hilarious. You know,
I think my wing would have somehow sought to sabotage the march.
Your wing would have bullied these guys. Your wing
Throw tomatoes at them.
Yes. Jesse's wing was the athletic dorm wing. You know, they're all about intramurals and super, we're better than
we
you.
Still did funny things. But ours were very antagonistic.
Right. Yours was like you're trying to actually hard prank other floors.
Exactly.
This was we're just doing a funny thing because we're funny goofballs in the quad, you know. But anyway,
I'm learning more about Jesse. Did you develop that prankster personality before you went to ORU, or did
long before? You're just born with it, you know.
Do you want to say publicly who your high school prank partner was?
Oh.
Nope, he does not. We will just say it's a nationally known person now, and it's not a person you expect Jesse would have grown up with.
Look, yeah, it's
not trying to out you, man.
Like I said, a lot of people do a lot of dumb things when they're young, and it just happens, you know. But yes, I can affirm that people would not expect, and we'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, that'll do it for Slices. Make sure to go check out relevantmagazine.com for more. Stay tuned. Right after this break, Chris Durso joins us. Well, today's podcast is brought to you in part by the new book, Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic. Author Jonathan Seidel knows firsthand how even believers can get stuck in shame and destructive habits, especially when it comes to one of society's biggest obsessions, alcohol. In Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic, he details his spiral into disordered drinking and shares the 4-step process he eventually used to break free. There's hope for alcoholics who become Christians and for Christians who become alcoholics. Find Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic wherever books are sold. What if you could change a child's life with just $10? Right now, thousands of vulnerable children in East Africa are suffering from jiggers. It's a painful, preventable parasite that burrows into their feet. Soul Hope is the only organization treating it through foot washing, medical care, and durable closed-toed shoes that protect kids long after treatment. $10 may not seem like much in today's world, but when we come together, those small gifts add up to big change. Join the 10 for 10 campaign. $10 protects 10 small toes. Visit soulhope.org/10 to give now. One small gift makes a big difference. Again, that's soulhope, SOLE, hope.org/TEN. Okay, well, we're trying something new. We're doing a video podcast now, and in our video era, we decided to have no guests. We're not doing the traditional 10-minute interview that we've done for 20 years, but we thought, why don't we have guests join us? So we're trying it for the first time. Chris Durso is an author. He's a pastor from New York City. You might know him from the Misfit days. You might have seen him at conferences or online. He does a lot of platitudes from his car. He recently launched a new church in New York City called Good Company Church. So we wanted to hear more about that. And also, he texted me that he has some thoughts about what's going on in the church today that we need to talk about. So welcome to the show, Chris Durso.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. So you just launched a church. Why did you launch a new church? Tell us about it.
Yeah, 6 weeks ago. We launched Good Company Church in downtown Manhattan. I started off as a Bible study 2 years ago. And then as we just kept progressing with the Bible study, doors kept opening. It just seemed like it was the right next step. When we started it, we didn't have a clue because it was like we were invited to start this Bible study. So we were just opening it up for people. And then it just kept growing. And it felt like it was the right next move to do, which I'm super excited about.
Can I tell, Jesse, I want to tell the listeners how Chris and I met. Over the years, cross paths, never had met. But after his friend and my friend, Carl Lentz, had a scandal in New York in late 2019, Relevant posted that news. Well, Pastor Chris Durso got in those comments and was calling us out for spreading rumors and being evil doers and all this stuff. And I'm like, Chris Durso, I'm friends with Carl too.
So you've been waiting all these years to publicly address this.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Which every time we're together, by the way, he brings it up. So I feel like there needs some feeling that
feels right for him.
It's the first time we really interacted. And then 3 years later, I'm at church and they announced at our conference, the speakers and conference, Chris Durso was coming. And I texted him. I was like, hey, you're going to be at my church this week. He's like, we should meet. So we met and we hashed out my hurt, his hurt over that Carl Lentz era social media interaction. So
Well, look at that.
and now you're launching a church replacing his. So good for you.
That's hysterical that we're just going to brush over that and keep moving. But you got your spin on it. That's okay.
Well, Chris, now that we have you here, Cameron would like to know that a big expose about this new church is going up today. And
Chris Durso
we wanted to give you the heads up about it.
Yeah.
See, it's a 10-year strategy. Chris pushed Carl Lentz out of New York City so he could start his own church in New York City.
Nope.
wow.
No?
Anyway.
I'm not even going to laugh at that because somebody's going to take the soundbite and then run with it.
Literally 7 minutes ago, Carl FaceTimed me, and I had to hang up on him. And he's like, "You're hurting my feelings." I'm like, "I'm recording. Durso's coming on. Leave me alone." So
I love it.
Well,
Chris, so the church in New York, what are you? Is New York home? Or what brought you there?
Oh yeah, I'm born and raised in New York, which is hysterical because people will come up to me at church and be like, "Hey, so you're from here, or where'd you move from?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm born and raised in Queens." But yeah, so the church started off in a hair salon as a Bible study, so I have a Bible study, and then we moved to a Catholic church, and then now we're at TBN Studios, which is across the street from Union Square Park. So we have a long-term lease situation there. They have a vacant space, and so which is a huge blessing for New York, right? It's always about space. So we're able to be there for now. For the foreseeable future. That's
awesome, because I remember when some other churches in the cities were starting up. I mean, it's like every week they were moving around to different venues because you just can't. You don't have space.
Speaking of Carl, when Hillsong was meeting at Irving Plaza, I don't know if you've ever been to Irving. Yeah, so we're literally 20 feet away from that. So we're on the corner. That's where the studio is, which is wild, right? Because Union Square is like a stone's throw away, which is where all our protests would happen. And then Washington Square Park is 2 blocks away, which is where all the other protests or big gatherings of New York would happen. And then we're surrounded by NYU. So the location is ideal.
Man, that's
Very
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
I remember when you were starting the Bible study and you guys were meeting at the hair salon, and I wondered if it was like LeBron's barbershop show where you guys were in the chairs, you were sharing, and people were getting cuts during service. Does that happen?
No, that would have been sick. We kind of just stood in the middle and had everyone just sit as close to us as possible. We had this good problem of running out of space. And what I loved about it, and what I still love about what we're doing, is that it's not polished. In fact, even though it's only week 6, every week I keep stripping something back because I just refuse to go into this trying to be this polished machine. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think it's good. I think we've come to an end of an era where people just want more than anything is authenticity. And I even know that word has now become so overused. But at the core of what it is, that's exactly what people are looking for. Just let me worship Jesus and tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear.
It's interesting you say that. Where do you think the tipping point on that was, where people are like, all right, we're doing it a certain way for a certain time, where it's maybe a more authentic, or maybe, I don't even say minimalist approach, but what do you think was the impetus for that desire to kind of reapproach the whole thing?
I know for me, COVID played a big part in that. Watching people just respond to everything that was happening, all the racial tension, not being able to gather. There were all these prophetic words, God's coming back Easter. And there were all these things that were just causing people to go, can we put a pause real quick? And can you just help me out? Because that's all I really need. Even from a cultural standpoint, watching what happened within worship music. I don't know if you remember that time. Before that, everyone was like, worship songs need to be 1 minute and 30 seconds. Longer than that, people won't engage, which is hysterical and dumb at the same time. And then people like Maverick City or Upper Room come out with 19-minute tracks and everyone's singing it. And then all these pastors are like, you know what? 1 minute songs are out the window, 19 minutes, and we're all going to wear muted colors and stand in a circle. And you just realize that no one really knew what they were doing. They were just trying to just attach themselves to something that could work. And I think that when we're watching what was going on in church, people were going to podcasts or going to these other platforms of people that were just speaking honestly, whether you agreed with them or not, that's neither here nor there. They were just looking for the honest dialogue. And I think all of that whole season, as difficult as it was, it really helped us get there.
Have you changed, in this launch and this, you're talking about there's a shift of what people want from church. Have you changed how you speak, how you deliver, how you pastor, how you teach Or is it
yeah.
Chris Durso with different programming around him?
I mean, there's definitely a newer version of me. So even when I'm preaching, I want to take more of a poised approach. The passion is still there, but what I'm addressing, what I'm passionate about, is definitely shifted. I think, again, what the last few years have taught us is that people are aware of church. Like before 2020, I think all churches were approaching it like, if people didn't go to church, it's because they were lost and did not have a clue who Jesus was. And now we understand that people do know who Jesus is, and they're trying to figure out what kind of church you are. In fact, they're watching us online, right? We've heard this before. They're watching us online before they ever enter the doors. So for me, my approach as I'm talking to people, I'm not talking to them like they're ignorant. I'm not talking to them like they're children. Let's talk about the text and what the Bible actually says, and we don't have to walk on eggshells for it. But I do like taking more of a poised approach when I am preaching, especially in my introductions, like as I work our way in, just so that I could settle what the foundation is. Like, this is where we're going to focus. But yeah, even some of the things that we would have done before, like you mentioned Misfit, which was so long ago for me, but there were a lot of like all these elements that we were going for, and which now it's just like, man, give me worship and give me word.
Right.
I don't even want to do anything else. Like, even offering is like, it's like 1 minute at the very end of like, hey, if you call this your church, then give. And if you don't, then don't. But I'm not going to like preach another 5-minute message on why you should give, because I think that you're insulting people's intelligence at that point.
I think I've observed, obviously, we've been doing this 25 years, so we've seen the emergent movement and then like the young adult services, and everybody who's like bar stools and oriental rugs and candles. And then, we've seen all the eras. And I do feel like we're in a new era where, I don't know if it was if it was COVID. I think after everything happened at Hillsong and some other places like that, the celebrity preacher era, the preachers in sneakers era, kind of like everybody just kind of, it was right when COVID hit. So like taste just changed. Like that isn't what we want from church anymore. And then coming out of COVID, you're right. A lot of people went isolated. They went online. Did they reconnect? We are seeing the data that Gen Z and millennials are coming back, obviously back in church, and they're the highest attending demographic and all this kind of stuff. And it's amazing to see what God's doing this generation. But I do think that they encountered God on their own in isolation, and a lot of feelings-led theology kind of, like they taught themselves what they wanted to believe, and they did like pick and choose potpourri theology and stuff. And now that they're going back into church, they're like, I think the need is for not entertainment, and it's not for slick production. The need is for encounter God and teach the depth of the word, because there's a generation who's hungry for him, but they know what they've taught themselves essentially. And so it's like, let's get into the actual scripture and let's foundationally get strong theology together. I think that's the need right now. And so I see the churches that are all like slick and big sermon illustrations and cars and flames and smoke. Like there's an appetite shifting away from that. And I see people looking for something more substantive. So I'm glad to hear you saying that, because that's just been what I've been observing as well.
But also, like, isn't it sad that there are churches that won't pivot? Like what they'll do is they'll adopt language while trying to continue doing what they were doing, right? It's like a bait and switch. They're just trying to continue doing what they've always done because that's all they know how to do, which, it just speaks to the kind of leader that they are. And I just think that every leader should remain flexible, and we should be willing to pivot, because, the Bible says he who wins souls is wise. So I want to be able to speak to people how they're listening, not trying to get them to listen how I want them to hear, right? Like that's a difference between like a preacher and, I don't know, an artist or a music artist. If this is my genre and this is my song, this is my art, I'm going to present it to you and I want you to like it. And if not, I'm going to try to convince you to like it. The gospel is not that. We preach it in a way so that people could understand it without changing what's true, without lying about what's true, without hiding what's true. If this is what we believe in and this is the word of God that we stand on, then we're going to preach it. And I think what this generation is looking for is just flat-footed preaching. It doesn't have to be loud. It could be loud. It could be a whisper. It's not about the volume. It's about the honesty. And how silly of us, like even what you just mentioned about what has happened. The reason why people started researching on their own is because they weren't hearing it in their churches. Right. But they were hearing in their churches where their pastors wanting to present their new book idea or their capital campaign. and they're trying to weave it into why this was the Rhema word of the Lord for this season. And people are like, you're insulting my intelligence. I'm not an idiot. I know what you're trying to do. And I'm actually not even mad that you have a book that you want to push. But right now, the world is on fire. So we don't need to hear this book idea on how, X, Y, and Z. What we need are real handles to work through it. And I think that is what people are responding to. In fact, I think when that's the approach, by the way, people are more willing to agree to disagree without there being this argument. I think when people feel unheard and when they feel ignored, that's where we're seeing the frustration and the rage. Like, it's not that people don't want God, they just don't want to go to your church. And those are two very different things.
It's interesting you say that too, because from your perspective, I wonder if you see people less like offended, right? And what I mean by that is like coming out of the era you're talking about where a lot of churches kind of modeled themselves from leadership on down. It's like, this is like almost like a business model. And people who go to the church have like almost this customer service mindset. Like, my needs to be met or I can find another place to go. And I should complain because it was
I can go
modeled.
on a podcast. I can go listen to podcasts and stuff. I can hear the best speakers in the world. I don't need
but they sort of, but also, in fairness, it's sort of been conditioned that this is like a consumer type of experience.
Right.
That, you know what I mean? Where
the me-centered Christianity, the entire modern American church is centered around is a me-centered Christianity. Exactly.
Yeah.
I want this program. I want this style.
And look, I'm not saying it's all like these malicious impulses. I think some people are like, oh, I want to model growth after businesses that have grown, and these are the practices they do. They try to meet individual needs. But what you're talking about, Chris, seems to be a little bit different, where it's not like a take it or leave it, but it's like, look, I'm not here necessarily. This isn't necessarily like a consumer type of relationship. It's something different. Have you seen that dynamic change the interactions when people are, offended by something or disagree with something? Have you found it has led to more dialogue and less conflict?
Yeah, and it's so much easier to build that way, by the way, because people respect your honesty. And as long as you could be honest and have a regulated nervous system at the same time, that's important. Because if I'm just responding with this anxiousness or being overwhelmed because we disagree, that speaks to a different issue, by the way. Like, all four of us on this podcast right now, I'm sure there are several things we don't agree on, but even if we don't agree on it, we could still work through conversations. And I think that is where people have been so frustrated. So for me, in my lobby, or in the lobby of where we're gathering, I go there now in between services and I just talk with people. And like I said, we're in downtown Manhattan, Union Square, Washington Square Park, NYU is surrounding us. So we have people coming that don't fully agree with what I agree with and what I believe the Bible says about sin. And I believe that Romans 1 is correct from beginning to end. And this is what I believe is true about what the Bible calls sin. And at the same time, I want you to keep coming to our church if you're comfortable coming, and let's keep talking about it. But I feel like the only way we get there is by walking with one another. I'm not just looking for your agreement. And I think that is where people have just made the mistakes. Like, if you don't agree with me, the devil is a lie. It's like, well, Jesus walked with Peter and called him Satan. Like, there's something to that we could disagree with one another and keep walking with one another. He said, get behind me. He didn't say, get away from me. There's something beautiful about that.
How do you deal in New York? I feel like, actually talking to Carl over the years, like he would tell me, like, in New York, obviously a lot of people are transient or really haven't been in the church, but they have like strong social justice values and opinions about, issues that are dear to them, important to them. And Carl would tell me that, like, especially in New York, like, he felt a pressure to have to address every social conversation, every news headline and stuff like that, or else they would kind of like, reject the church. Like, oh, you're not talking about important things or whatever. And Carl's just like, I just want to talk about Jesus, How do you straddle that? Like, are you like saying, hey, listen, does the church deal with the current event stuff? Because we've seen a lot of conversation, especially over the last month, about national tragedies happening and your pastor should speak about this and like stand up and be, like, how do you straddle that? Because it's an interesting time we're in, but New York, I think, would be the epicenter of all that tension.
Yeah. By the way, Sunday number 2 for us was right after the public murder of Charlie Kirk. So I definitely prayed for his family, and I prayed what was going on in our nation, just like I prayed for the family of the young woman who was murdered on that train in Charlotte, or I prayed for, the parents of those kids that had that school shooting, and I pray for it. And for me, it's like, I'm not going left or right. I'm going kingdom. And I know that could sound cliche, but we're going to pray for people. And regardless of what you agree on or disagree on, I would have prayed the same way had it been AOC, who in New York, right?
Sure, of course.
Comes from the Bronx, far left, doesn't agree with what we agree with, but she's a human and her life matters. And somebody could watch this and I'm sure they're going to be offended and they're going to say, but Charlie was a murderer. And I would say, okay. And his life was taken and it shouldn't have been taken.
Right.
But according to the word of God, every life matters and is important that we pay attention to. I don't think the churches that are picking these political sides are necessarily the wisest, because we don't fully agree on all sides. And what happens is when you don't admit that, you look like a liar. So I agree with you on the stances, but let's also agree that even though we have the same stances, there are character issues. Like you're saying this person is a man of God. You wouldn't even trust them as a youth pastor. You wouldn't even trust them to be alone with your children. And you're telling me that that's a man of God? Like, let's stop acting like that doesn't exist. And I think that people feel like they have to pick. I mean, they're over here, or over here. And I just refuse. I refuse to move. I think people respect more of the honesty and more of that approach. And the people that don't, I'm sure, won't come back to my church, and that's okay. If they want a church that's polarizing and going to just, pitch a tent on one side, they can go to that church.
Yeah. Okay. You're also New Yorker. Aren't you doing like stuff? Basketball season starts next week. I got to know. Are you you're still a team chaplain for the Knicks or no?
Not this season, because we planted a church and I needed to focus on the planting of the church. But, we have a bunch of the guys and some of the women from WNBA that come to the church, which is awesome.
Oh, really? Wait, which ones?
Cool.
Who are real Christians?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. That's where some of our friends made mistakes, because they were posting pictures with people. You're not catching me there.
I just had the Jonathan Isaac from the Magic. I just interviewed him for my podcast that's kicking up in a few weeks.
By the way, he's amazing.
Yeah. And so I literally like we're recording and like in the middle of it, I'm like, so who are the real Christians in the NBA? Like, who are the fake ones? Who are the real ones? Like, whatever. And he named names. He named names, dude. I loved it.
He's like, I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah. Man, he was talking about the good guys. He was talking about the guys he was, happy about. But
hey, there are a lot of Bible believing Christians in the NBA, not only in the player, but even on the corporate side, like that. They love Jesus. And they stand pretty firm on their convictions. It's pretty amazing to see.
How long were you a chaplain for the Knicks?
Not the Knicks. I wish I was a chaplain for the Knicks. It was the
Nets. Oh, dang.
Oh,
I was trying to be so sports knowledgeable.
I said wrong.
Hey, if the Knicks call, I'm there. But no, I was a chaplain for 2 seasons.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so I am not the sports person on the podcast, but I will ask a sports question because I've become more knowledgeable of the sports world, because it feels like there's so many athletes speaking out about their faith. And to me, like, I feel like I haven't seen that many athletes speak out about their faith in my entire life. Do you feel like there is a growing shift, or are they just becoming more vocal about it?
I think they're becoming more vocal about it, but I think that until you're backstage with these players, we don't even realize what their world really is. So we see it on highlight reels, we see Sports Center, we hear about big contracts. But the truth is as transient as New York is as transient as the NBA is. And these guys are constantly on edge. They don't know if they're going to be traded. They don't know if their contract is going to be renewed. So what I learned when we would start our chapels, instead of preaching and then praying, I would always pray first and then preach. And I would say, hey, what are your prayer requests? And there was not one chapel where we didn't get almost everyone in the room, if not everyone in the room, every time sharing their prayer request. And it was always for their body, for their peace and for their finances. And so I think that these guys are carrying a whole lot. And I think that their mind is like us, fixated on their families and the pressure to keep up and to be able to provide. And am I good enough to stay on this team? And so they love Jesus, and they're asking for his help. And then there's a lot of them that, you know, that do treat Christianity almost like with superstition. Like, if I just pray, then I'm going to be good. The wild thing about the Nets chapels is that they would be joined. So it would always be both teams 60 minutes before tip-off. And you would always get people from other teams coming in. And honestly, there was always this common respect amongst all the players, because honestly, they're all just trying to make it. It's like they're living in survival mode, unless you're, you know, top 10 players in the NBA, but which obviously majority are not. But yes, at the same time, there are a lot of players that are standing strong in their faith and you know, want to preach the good news of Jesus, for sure.
And they're 23 carrying all that. That's crazy to me. Anyway, go ahead, Jesse.
One more question. As you can see, I'm wearing a New York Jets hat, which is a curse I married into many years ago. Marrying someone from the New York area. And the Giants just came. We're talking after the Giants had a fantastic Thursday night win. Obviously, they don't need prayers right now.
The vibes in New York are awesome right now because of the Giants, man.
Yeah. How many just desperate, humbled, completely broken people from the Jets organization stumble into your service just asking for any prayer? I mean, at this stage, literally miracles.
We need
that they're asking for.
So we've had like people that work for the organization for sure come.
What did they confess to you that has put them in such a downcast?
That they love Jesus. Hey, listen, the tension in New York right now is that the Yankees just lost, and that's what everyone is feeling. And you know, the Mets obviously a few weeks before, so New York is feeling pretty tense right now. People are not happy.
Well, hey, at least they got Scatterboo and Jackson Dart out there.
Whenever he did a Jets chapel, they would come in. Do you have any prayer requests? He's like, I'm horrible at my job. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you just? I'm a fraud. I hope people don't find out.
A fraud.
A fraud.
The weird thing is, as soon as they go to another team, something magically
magically get good.
That you know, they were waiting on their miracle, and it happened. It just so happened they're wearing another jersey when it did. So.
Man, I'm team New York. So whether it's the Knicks, the Nets, the Giants, the Jets, the Mets, the Yankees, whoever, I'm supporting all of them. I'm praying for all of them. I want all of them to come to my church.
Hey, you got the Rangers. The Rangers look good, and who knows?
And the Islanders.
Yeah, and maybe the Giants had turned it around. So
everybody go, if you're in the New York area, go check out Good Company Church. Also follow Chris on Instagram. If you want some good car-based 30-second sermons in your feed, he's a great follow.
He does more than that. I do feel I'm going to defend him and say he does more than that.
Thank you.
I love
you ought to
it.
see the text. You ought to see the text that when Cam texted me about this interview, he was like, "Hey, can you make sure you're
not in your car
office?" And I'm like, and then I write back like, "You mean like not in my car?" Like I knew what he was getting at. He was like, "Yeah, because you do your stuff in the car." I'm like, "I know, bro. You told me this before."
It's great.
It's kind of, we don't have space in New York, man, so we got to figure it out.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Chris. This was a lot of fun. Like I said, go check out Good Company Church if you're in New York. Make sure to follow Relevant on all the socials. Instagram at Relevant Magazine. Check out relevantmagazine.com every day as well. On that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Gary.
I'm Emily Brown.
And we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. For the latest at the intersection of faith, life, and culture, make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com. And while there, click over to issue 117 of Relevant. The new digital issue is packed, and you can read it for free. If you want our enhanced magazine, as well as ad-free reading at the site and ad-free versions of our podcasts, sign up for Relevant Plus. Plans start as low as $2.50 a month, and it's the best way to experience our content. Find out more and sign up today at relevantmagazine.com.
Relevant Podcast Network.